Yo, what is up everybody? Back at it again with the new video. So today is March 10th of 2021. Current time is 10:03 a.m. And so I did two trades, one overnight and one day trade, and they're both on BANT. And so the reason why I got into it to swing it overnight, which was my initial bought price or my initial buy position, was because of this news right here. So this was on March 9th 2021 at 1 p.m. so about about 2 hours before the market closes. And so it says Bantech through Bantech sanitizing sells Think Light Air monitors to an Ivy League university. And so with that, I thought it could keep on running towards the morning for today. And as you guys could see, it panicked, but in hindsight, I thought it could go up. So I got in at around this little dip right here at 316 at about 3,000 shares or so, and it was about $100 for risking. And so jumps up and closes at 365. And so pre-market jumps down all the way to around 335, then back up to 356. So I'm like, okay, it's probably just going to bounce around here or like consolidate and then go run up back to my reward, which was to which was around like 40 or something. And as you could see, it's a penny stock, so I'm just gonna mention it by the first by the numbers. And so right at the open, this is 3 minutes, so let's look at 1 day so we could be more precise. So again, I'm in it right here at 316 or so. And so it jumps all the way up, and after when market is open, stock just tanks all the way down, bouncing around here at the low 253. And so at this point, I'm just panicking, right? I don't know what to do. And so my initial thought was just to dip buy this so I could average up to right here and just to stick to my risk and sell at that 3 level. And so I was trying to buy right around here, and I kept on rejecting it because the shares I wanted was too much for the price that I had. So again, I wasn't prepared for this big panic right at the open, because it just started skipping the ask. And so I got in around VWAP around this, as you could see right here at 28, right about here or so, right about here at 28. And I should have waited a little bit so I could get around at 266, but I'm already in the trade. And I'm like, okay, I could sell at you could see these lines I put. So my thought process for this was that, okay, it went about from 365 all the way down to that 254. So that's about 30% of a drop. And so I'm like, okay, let's measure it up for the upside. So I was thinking about a bounce of like 15 to 22% around, so right about my price point where I bought. And so I measured that, and I'm like, okay, what would be the middle between this and like the middle of this? So that would be around 307. And so right around I think right around here or so, I placed an order to sell at 307, and I never got filled right after that. And it started to tank, and that's where I started to panic a little bit because it couldn't break out that 3 level, and my risk was to cut at that 3 level. And so I stayed firm on my overnight trade to sell at 3, and I started to panic. And once it started to skip the bid, I canceled my order and immediately just started to skip and then touch that high at 307. And I was kind of salty that I canceled it. And also I was gonna cut for a loss around here because I think I canceled it around here when it started just to drop, and then I was going to sell it for a loss, for a much larger loss. And so the stock jumps all the way to 307, and then I'm already out on my overnight swing, and I'm still holding on to this one for the day trade, as you could see, and it starts to drop back down. And then at this time I'm like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? And I'm like, okay, the worst case scenario is that it breaks the support zone and it keeps on dropping. And I'm thinking about that right about here. And so on that, I'm just like, I had a flash thought where I was like, okay, I want a larger loss. I want something that could be really painful, and as in dollar amount loss. And that was the wrong mindset to have, honestly, because I am acting as if I'm a professional trader, which I am, and well, that's what I like to think. But I'm not a professional with no license, but I'm just a day trader, which I like to think as I am a professional trader. I'm taking this very seriously, and so I'm starting to think, I'm like, okay, it's right around VWAP, and it starts to uptrend a little bit, as you guys could see right here. And I'm like, all right, it's hugging VWAP, and it doesn't want to break that 229. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna cut at 289, just for a profit of 14.15, and that was it. And eventually does break that and creates a high at 312 right here, and it's starting to go downtrend back and to hug VWAP or so. I honestly think it's probably going to break this and go even higher, because it's like right above VWAP and it's just hugging it. And so again, it created a new higher low, that support, and so if it breaks that, I think it's just gonna start tanking. And again, I'll have my full description thought process in the description, because I have a well thought out written of the lesson learned on this trade. But on my other trade, I lost about $15, and on this trade I won about $14. But this is a OTC stock, so I'm probably gonna get hit with fees, so this is probably just pennies. So I lost about almost 15. I lost about $15 or so. And so yeah, that's pretty much it for this trade. I'm not gonna have a recap towards the end. I'm just gonna have this posted so you guys could see. But if after it breaks this, I think it could run back up. But if it breaks this support zone, I think it's just gonna fade back down to wherever it came from. But as I wanted to show you guys a 3-month 1-day chart. And so for the overnight swing, I thought it could go around towards the 42s or so, and eventually break out this resistance point and just start running, because of that news I had yesterday, which was this. And that was my initial thought. And so what the valuable lesson on this trade is that always think about what's the worst that could happen after you have your risk reward. So there's a risk reward you have, and so what's that after? So what if it what if it exceeds your expectations, and also what if it does much worse than you thought it could do? And so that's just a little learning lesson right there for you guys, if you have after your risk reward, what to think about. So yeah, you have a risk reward, which was for mine was that 3 level right here, and it just blew that down, tanking out the water. And so that's the valuable lesson there, is what could go worse, and what would you do if it exceeds your expectations, also for the reward part. So it could either go either way. And so that's pretty much it for my my trade for today. So if you did learn a valuable lesson today, comment down below what you learned, like the video, and subscribe. Peace out, guys.